Hey, I'm Lenora Farrington, the karate realtor, committed to the same honesty, integrity, and discipline in both my martial arts practice and my realtor practice. Today, I want to talk about wire fraud. You've probably seen dozens of warnings about it in your peripheral vision. Airbnb has one on the end of every email. Your bank probably has one. I have one on my auto signature, and a disclaimer is part of every real estate purchase contract. What irks me is that we rarely take the time to talk you through what it is and what to look out for. So that's what I'm going to do now. First, let's look at what's supposed to happen at the end of your contract to close process. Your settlement company should have taken a thorough look at your contract at the beginning and listed who's responsible for what over the course of the process, along with researching the deed history and lingering liens and easements. They'll be collecting all the monetary receipts and tracking who's responsible for what. They'll spreadsheet all of these into one of three forms, depending on some variables like what type of loan, property, settlement company, etc. They're basically the same but different. It'll be either the CD or closing disclosure, the HUD, or the ALTA. They're all just an accounting form with a list of line items and two columns, one for the buyer responsibilities and one for the sellers. You should get a draft copy of this in your email before closing. Legally, you have a right to it at least 3 days before closing. Realistically, understand that there's often one holdout with a stack of receipts they need to account for. The contractor shortage really affects this. It's often one of the repairs that needs to be done, or the termite inspector, or something along those lines. It's really frustrating for buyers because you want to know down to the penny exactly you have to have transferred before the day before closing, but it is what it is. What you can do is get a ballpark estimate and wiring instructions from the settlement company and talk to your bank beforehand, letting them know what's coming and ask what they'll need from you to authorize the transaction and make it happen the day of closing, day before at the earliest. Now, what often happens with wire fraud, somewhere in between all the hacking and breaching that's going on that's affected multiple cell and internet providers, banks, data servers, everything really. Someone in the underworld has pieced together that you're expecting to make a large purchase by wire transfer in the near future. They'll research some of the people and companies involved and email you fake wiring instructions to go ahead and send the money to the wrong people. One that almost happened to clients of mine. They actually created email addresses to mirror the settlement agents and my own, with one or two small differences or typos, manufactured a whole false email thread between us and sent it to the client. Fortunately, it was caught. The system worked the way it was supposed to. But I do want to give you a few things to look out for based on that experience. First, that went out more than a week before closing, and they were asking for the wire to be transferred a week before closing. That's about the time you're going to be getting antsy about it, but remember the timing I just described to you. That's way too early to even have it down to the penny. Excuse me. And way too early for the transfer to be happening. Second, look carefully at the email addresses. Compare them to the emails you were getting from the same parties at the very beginning of this process. Look for typos and small variations. Third, call the settlement company directly to confirm. From the number you got in the beginning of the process, not what's on the wiring instructions themselves or the email string they came attached to. It's unnerving, I know. I've been there. Thankfully, The system worked the way it was supposed to, and all was well. But I want to make sure that you're protected and can learn from that experience. I'm Lenore Farrington, the Karate Realtor. And you know what? Life is hard. Let's get you home.